I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 2 English lesson on to be and to have. All right, so our chapter is we are doing our grade 2 English lesson on to be and to have. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, all right. So this is our chapter on to be and to have, grade 2, right? So our chapter is to be and to have. Our subject is English language arts. Grade 2, all right. So our chapter is to be and to have. Our subject is English language arts. All right. So when it comes to be and to have, right? So we need to, for example, use the correct present tense form um within the text as well as the past tense form. So the verb is to be irregular, right? And remember we said that if the verb is irregular, all right. So the verb is irregular, and when you say that it is irregular, that means that it changes, right? It changes its form. So it's no longer a thing of, okay, you just add an S or you add an ES to the word. to either show plural or something, right? But once it is irregular, and then it means that it does not follow a specific rule. You're just gonna have to remember it. All right, so we see that the verb is irregular. And when it comes to the irregular verbs, right, then it means that you cannot just, for example, say, okay, we're going to add is, we're going to add es, right? So it does not follow the rules that you must follow for the verbs. You're going to have to remember these forms below. All right. So when the verb is irregular and we do not follow any rules to most of the verbs, then it means that you're just gonna have to remember the form of that verb, right? You're gonna have to know how the sentence is being used. All right. And if we look at the subject as well as the present tense form of the verb, right? So we see that our chapter is to be and to have. Our subject is English Language Arts Grade 2, and the lesson says to be. Use the correct present tense form. All right. So we say that the verb is irregular and it does not follow the rules that most verbs follow. All right. So when it comes to our verbs, right, we see that within any sentence, right, there needs to be a subject, tells us who we are talking about, and there needs to be a verb. It gives us the action that the subject is doing. All right. So now, if we also look at the subjects that is being used, as well as the present tense form that is being used. All right. And remember, we say that when it comes to the verb, they're going to have to remember the forms that they are going to basically learn today or that they know already. So I'm going to read out the subject and the present tense form. All right. So you're going to have to remember the forms. But now we're going to our subject, right? If we look at the subject and we look at the present tense verb, all right. And also remember, we with irregular verbs, right? Irregular verbs, or let's say most of our verbs, right? There's no rules that you can follow when it comes to irregular verbs. With irregular verbs, you're just gonna have to remember this form of, let's say, either sentences. All right. So now, if we look at our subject and we also look at our present tense verb. So the subject is I. The subject is I. If we may make mention of I. Let's say, for example, you want to say how old you are. Then you use the subject I. but you use the present tense verb, am. You're still going to use I, but you're going to use the present tense verb, am. So now you can even, for example, say I am, for example, 9 or 8 years old. All right, if we make mention of, for example, he, she, or it, he, she, or it, then we need to use the present tense form is, because we either say he is, she is, it is, referring to one person. All right, so we can either say he is, she is, or we can say it is, right? And we follow in the dots. Then we have you are, we are, they are. All right. And if we, like we said, if we refer to he, we refer to she because it's one person, we're going to use the word is. Because one person or one thing is, and more than one person, more than one thing are. So more than one thing are, one thing is, right? All right. So this is basically how we use our verbs, where we say in the present tense, I am, he, she, it is, you, were, they are. All right. Now, if we go to the past tense, right? So that is our present tense. It says the verb is irregular, right? So the verb is irregular. And once the verb is irregular, right? And then it means that it doesn't follow any rules like most verbs do. And if the noun or if the verb doesn't follow any rules that most follow, then it means that you're going to have to remember this form of verb, especially since it is an irregular verb. So we're going to have to remember it. So now we're going to our subject and we're going to our verb. So when it comes to be and to have, right? If we use the subject I, right, referring to myself, example, if I'm going somewhere, all right. So say for example, we say I. If I make mention of I, then in the past I would say I was because this is past tense. All right. So we would say if we were to make mention of myself, we would say I was, right? And that is where we use, for example, I and was. All right. So if we say I was, right? Say we say I was, and then the next one, it's we, for example, he, she, or it will be like also I was. He was, she was, it was. And if we use the words like you, we, and they, so which means that these two things that we say on the board, right? These are irregular verbs. And with irregular verbs, right? You're just gonna have to follow the rules that most of the verbs do follow. All right. So now we're going to A plus students.ca, and our chapter is to be and to have. All right, so we're going to A plus students.ca, and that is where we're going to continue with our lesson. And to be and to use the correct present tense form. And remember, we said that when it comes here to the to be and the irregular past tense or present tense, right? So we need to use the correct present tense with the correct verb. All right. And we already went over this one. Here we say, do we say I am angry at my sister? I is or I are angry at my sister? All right. So we said, I am angry at my sister because we use the correct, for example, present tense or the correct tense to use with, for example, our subject, which is I. All right. All right, let's go to our test where we are going to choose the specific. If a subject is given, we need to choose the correct verb. Do we say she is at her dad's house this weekend? Or do we say she are at her dad's house this weekend? All right. The next one says that complete the sentence with the correct present tense form of to be. Do we say she are at the dad's house this weekend or she is at a dad's house this weekend? All right. And if we were to choose the correct tense, we would say she is at the dad's house this weekend. So is our correct present tense. The next one says we. Do we say we are wet of the rain? Or do we say we am wait for the rain? All right, and we can then say we are, because remember we said we refers to more than one person. All right, so yeah, we say the next one is complete the sentence with the correct present tense form to be. We, right? We refers to more than one person. Do we say we are with foreign or do we say we am with foreign? All right, so we can say we are because we say are if we're talking about more than one person. All right, so when we are making mention of more than one person, which is we, do we either say we are with of the rain, we am with for the rain, or do we say, or which one do we choose? We is. All right, and if we were to choose, for example, we refer to you, which is we, as well as your either the friends, family, whoever that is standing close by to you. All right, so we can say we are. Wait for the rain. And are is great. I. Do we say I are busy on the computer right now? Do we say I am busy on the computer right now? Which one is the correct um present tense form? And if we were to select and correct our present tense form, we can say I am busy on my computer right now. So am, right? And am is correct. Also, we would say he am at Johnny's house right now, or do we say he is at Johnny's house right now? All right, so now we're still focusing on present tense to be, and here we're saying he am at Johnny's house right now, or do we say he is at Johnny's house right now? All right. The next one says he am at Johnny's house right now, or do we say he is at Johnny's house right now? Yes, is this correct? Well done. All right, and then the last one we can say he am at Johnny's house right now, or he is at Johnny's house right now. We need to choose the correct one. He am at Johnny's house right now, or he is at Johnny's house right now. All right, then we can say he is at Johnny's house right now. So we use words like is, am, right, to make mention that there is a to be and to have. And now we are going to, before we end, we're going to use our past tense, right? And with our past tense, we either use was or were. Was, it refers to one person doing something. Were refers to more than one person doing something, right? All right. So here they say the verb to be is irregular. And remember, we said that when the verb is irregular, and then it means that it doesn't follow any rules. So which means that whatever, you're just gonna have to know the verb, right? You're gonna know this is possibly the past tense of the verb of the word, right? And now also when we use our, let's say, our past tense, then we have our subject that is doing something, and we have our past tense, which is the verb. So now if we go on to something that one of the subject, which is I. All right. And if we look at our subject, right, if we're making mention of I, something that I did, right, and in our past tense, right, the verb in the past tense, we would say was. All right. So we went over the subject I as well as the past tense was, right? All right. And we can say if we make mention of he, she, or it, it's also, let's say, one person doing something, then we can also use our verb, which is was. And if we make mention of more than one person doing something or thing, then we use the word were. All right. So when it comes to the irregular past tense, right, and we made mention of our subject, which is I, and our past tense, which is our past regular verb or irregular verb, then it's either was or it is were, depending on the tense in which you are using it, if you're using it for a singular person or a plural person. But now this is the end of our lesson on to be and to have. Thank you very much, grade twos, for joining the class, and I really hope you're going to have a good day further. Goodbye. All right. Goodbye.